Sahaja.
Hey, Miss Letty.
Hi, Greg. Hi, Sam. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Okay, so I had a question. So today was a really rough day at work. It was just, different things going on, but it ended kind of rough because we had a lockdown. People are gonna be like, where do you work at? Keep having all these crazy things happening at work.
What happened with the lockdown? Like, why was there a lockdown?
Because some kids were fighting and then somebody pulled a gun. And then they were like looking for that kid that had the gun. But then, like with happened to Uvalde, all the parents start coming.
Yeah.
And it was just crazy to see how the parents, like how they were acting, like they were, like it was like a riot outside the school. And I was like, and I'm happened to be like in the front where I can see things.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I shouldn't have seen it, but I did. So that affected me. But anyhow, so I was using some Tarragon. But I was just going to ask you, like, just to disconnect everything from work, like, would Rue do it?
Rue might do it, but I like Tarragon is good for stuff like that, but I would probably use benzoin in that. And the difference is, like, you can use both Tarragon and benzoin for like situations where there's shock or a bit of agitation. And the difference being the benzoin helps you to put a little bit of distance. Like it helps you to see the situation, but at a distance. Like you don't feel quite as entwined in the situation. And so I would do that. And then what else I would do is I would break out like either the etheric cord blend or ironbark eucalyptus and sit and inhale that, because parents, the children, other teachers, there's just cords happening everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
it was a bunch of octopuses running around the school after something like that happens. And you're just wrestling with all the different octopuses.
It was just awful to see how the parents behaved. They were like going at it with the police officers. And I was just like, oh my God.
I can imagine like both sides of it, like having to be the teacher there, but so many school shootings, like, it would be hard for nobody to get like worked up about all of that on either side of the fence.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I would have like a little kit ready to go for like, if something like that happens, you can just walk over and grab your kit of like benzoin and etheric cords and I what else I would probably work in there is like, after you've come through and done those two things, is Splendor. And the reason being that, like, Splendor was originally made for PTSD and treating psychological things that were like trauma related, but like with flashbacks, like, because not what, I mean, I haven't talked about this too much, but sometimes what people call PTSD actually isn't like true PTSD, but you get it like there was an issue and it was really upsetting. Like, you know what I mean? And so it doesn't matter. Like sometimes it's some different mechanisms, like that it's being called by the proper name is not necessarily the point, but in a case like that, like you want to calm down like limbic responses, and that's part of what Splendor does, is it just calms down all those like weird responses that come up in like a crisis situation, so that it's not going to treat everything, but it's going to calm everything down substantially. And then kind of over a period of time, I would use something like Vital Centers or Lotus or something like that, just to kind of like reconfigure the emotional body a little bit. Because it's like you have a bunch of good days, and granted, you have a tough job where you're dealing with a lot of tough things, but you still have moments where there's good things. And then something like this happens, it can really skew all those other things. And the thing with Lotus is it helps to focus more, like put a greater emphasis on the good things and diminish the negative emotions on the limbic centers, right? So it basically helps you to see like, yeah, it was a bad day, but really overall good things were happening except for the weirdness today. And I mean, even if you want to look at like what happened, everybody got all worked up about it, but somebody pulled a weapon and they were on it. They were trying to, find them. They went on lockdown. They had things in place that were positive. I mean, it's unfortunate that that kind of stuff even has to happen,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
it just, like Lotus, for me, like when I think about it for myself, it's like it always just helps me to keep things like in perspective. Not mm,
What's hard of it also is that you don't know what's going on
oh, totally.
until like
Yeah,
you have to wait for a while, and then we could hear
yeah,
the helicopter like literally right above us.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
I
I
was like,
can't imagine being in that situation. I mean, I've come out of events and things where there was gunfire and stuff, but I could jump in my car and drive away and then it was done. You know what I mean? Like, um, I can't imagine being on a place where you're on lockdown, and yeah, that would be rough.